So today we are talking about how to live life intentionally with the amazing Megan Knorpp. Megan is a YouTube daily vlogger who posts videos with her and her family on the channel Knorpp and South. You should all go subscribe to it because it's just such a fun, inspiring channel. And you and your whole family will become shortly addicted, but it's a good addiction. So they have over 250,000 subscribers. They've got a family of 11. They've traveled the country in an RV. They've traveled the world, and they just really share their experience of living life on their own terms. They began their YouTube channel in January of 2016. Of her 9 children, 5 are adopted. She's got some special needs kids in there. She owns and operates a thriving doTERRA essential oils business, and they really just live such a positive, full, rich life. And so I think this is the perfect topic to be covering with you today, Megan, is just living intentionally. We're excited that you're here.
Thanks. I'm really excited to be here. Excited to
Awesome.
be here during these times too, because I think it is a really great time to be talking about this thing.
You know, it's so interesting because the responses, like the longer the quarantine goes on, I feel like our responses to it are getting more and more divided. You've got the people who are like, it's a complete conspiracy, and the people who are like, it's the end of the world, and the people who are like, this is the best break I've ever had. And, you know, it's like all these really different, strong reactions that are coming. I'm kind of like, well, it's probably everything. So
Yeah, it could be
here.
all of the above.
We're here, we're living, we're figuring it out. So, but I will tell you, I think it has caused a lot of people to really assess their lives, myself included, and go, was I living my life intentionally? Was I really living the way that I wanted to be? So I'd love to just start off with your definition. What does it mean to live life intentionally?
Yeah, and before I go there, I was on the phone last night with a friend saying, while there's lots of things that have been difficult about this, the best part has been that I get to decide every single day what I'm going to do. I don't
Mm-hmm.
have to take anyone anywhere. There really aren't any meetings, those sorts of things, at least for me and for, the friend I was talking to, and how much more I feel that I get to be in control of my life. And then we thought, well, why don't we feel that way all the time? And what can we pull from that into once this thing is over? But yeah, I think living life intentionally is really just being on purpose all the time. That the reason that you do things isn't because that's the way it's always been done, or not because that's what you're supposed to do, or because that's what your parents did, or because that's what is expected of you. You're doing these things because that's what you are choosing to do. You are intentionally moving forward with everything in your life, because it follows the purpose or the goals that you have set for yourself.
You know, it is so interesting because I have a tendency, and I've always admired this about you. You've always been really good at saying, well, that's what you tell me I have to do. Well, I'm going to do what I want to do. Like, what do I want to do? And I tend to have this like internal operating system that is a lot of have tos. I have to do this. I have to do this. I have to do this. I have to do that. And the funny thing about it is I make them all up. You know what I mean? Like,
Mm,
it's just me. Like, I put all this pressure on. It's not coming from anywhere else. It's really coming from me. And I think that's true for all of us, that when we buy into the have tos, at some point you got to be honest and say, why am I allowing that to be a have to? Says who? How did you make that switch, or have you always just been wired that way?
I think we all struggle for our own reasons with choosing to do the things that we want to do, or living with intention. And it might be that you just feel like there's some have tos. It might be because you don't trust yourself. You don't know that you are worthy of being able to make those decisions. For me, I think it was a little bit easier because I never really succeeded at the mainstream system. I didn't do well in school. I was often in trouble. I wasn't, I didn't have a bunch of boyfriends and, Mrs. Popularity. And so when you already know you're not going to win, it's like, well, what else could you do? What do you actually want to do? And so I think that was probably part of it. But I know that even for me, I have to constantly have people that I talk with that help me work through some of those have tos. And you were one of them. I remember when we started working with you, there were several things that I said, I don't want to do these things, but I have to. And you questioned a lot of those for me. I think everybody needs someone in their life that they can work through those things with, because we have layers and layers and layers of them.
Yep. It is so true. And it's so much easier sometimes to help someone else with theirs than it is with your own, because I remember some of
Absolutely.
those conversations. You're like, everybody's asking me to do this. How much should I charge for it? And I was like, $1 million, because you would hate it. So don't do it.
It's
Let's
so
just for $1
true.
million.
Yeah.
So,
And I think,
yeah. Okay. I do have to say, I'm super curious on what you got in trouble for in school, though. Talking in
oh,
class.
I was always in trouble for talking too much, for um, not, my desk was always a disaster, just a disaster. I never had a pencil or a piece of paper. I had a seventh grade teacher that announced to the class, everybody, I want you to look at Megan, because when she grows up, she's just going to be digging ditches. She's not going
Oh,
anywhere.
that is so terrible.
Yeah.
I wish you could find that teacher and be like, so here's what I've done. Amazing business, amazing family.
Yeah. I
Crazy.
think, I don't know. I think about that, and how all of us have people, though, that that say those things to us, or give us that feeling like that we're not going anywhere. And for me, I think it made me angry. I think it probably also made me afraid, but it made me angry enough to create a fire in my belly. Along, other
Mhm.
people have said those sorts of things, and to say, well, I'm enough of a rebel that I'm going to prove you wrong, that sort of thing. So
Mhm.
I might actually thank her if I saw her again for putting that fire in my belly.
That's amazing. One of the questions as we were starting off was talking about, how do you find the confidence before we got kickstarted? And I was asking people, what are their intentions? There's a tension around how do you find the confidence? So, you've made this bold decision. I remember when you were leaving to go live on the road in an RV with 11 kids and travel and film it for the year. I remember thinking that is such a bold decision. How did you find the courage to do that?
Um, I think that I think that's a really great question, because I wasn't courageous. I was terrified. I was a wreck. I had just enough courage to do it, and but I think it was a complete disaster. I thought, what if I'm destroying my life? What if everything's going to fall apart? What if we just make an embarrassment of ourselves because we get out there and 2 weeks in we hate it, and we just got rid of everything, and now we have this RV. And so I think that one of my favorite things to tell people is that when you are living life with intention and going for things and making big changes, you're on the right track if you're terrified, and you're like when people say, like, I don't know, I tried to do it and I just was so stressed, and it just, it's like, well, welcome to the club. And so Mike and I had rules, like, we're not going to talk about this decision after 9 o'clock at night, because after 9 o'clock at night, you're like, what are we doing? I have no idea why we decided to do it this way. But what happened when we did leave, because we had a big house, we had 9 kids, and this living in a great town, and we moved into this 250 square foot thing and left. What happened was that all of these have tos were suddenly gone. We didn't have a mailbox. So we weren't getting anything in the mail. We weren't connected to any group. We weren't taking any lessons. And so we completely detached ourselves from mainstream living. And it gave us this great perspective to look back and say, like, we'll go back eventually. And when we do, what do we actually want to plug back into? And so here, that was amazing for us. And it was like, we got outside of the box and said, okay, I don't want to get back in that box again. I want to do
Mhm.
things differently from here on out. And so obviously living in the RV was differently, but I wasn't going to do that forever. And here we are in that same circumstance right now. We are outside of our box. We don't have to feel guilty anymore about all the things we're not doing, because we're not legally allowed to do them.
Right.
And but we will eventually be able to do them again. And so we have a choice. Do I go back and just go back to everything as it was, which would be pretty easy? Or do I go back and say, you know what? Let's put this on hold. Let's spend the next little bit of time here asking ourselves what we actually really want. I know that we were doing these lessons and maybe this sport, or maybe we were, spending our time doing this, but what do we really want out of life? What do we want life to look like every day? And I think that like Leslie was saying, and you were saying before, that's an amazing gift for all of us to say, hold on, is this actually what I want? Because everything's going to be different on the other side. If I want it to be, it can be, and it can be so much better than it was before.
You know what? I have to say, I needed to hear this because as much as I'm, praying that everyone will get healthy and businesses will be able to open again, there is a part of me that's afraid of when we go back because I don't want to pick it all back up again. I really don't. Like, there are parts of our life that we're so insanely busy with kids running everywhere. And, we have 5, we don't have 9, but they were all over the place all the time. And there's like a part of my soul that's like, no, I want to sit down with them for dinner each night. Like, I want that. But I'm a little nervous about when we go back and all of the pressure comes back. So I love that. That was probably helped other people, but it was for me. So thank you. I appreciate that. Okay, so we are just about out of time, even though I feel like we could have this conversation forever. It's sometimes I feel like I've had seasons of my life where I'm living really intentionally. And then all of a sudden I'll realize that I'm not, that I've fallen into it requires such a high level of consciousness. How do you keep your finger on that to know if you're in that zone? And do you ever fall in and out?
I think there's no way that because if you're truly going to live life intentionally, that means that you're going to be changing because you change, because your circumstances change. And so there's no way for you just to say, okay, this is the life I'm going to lead, and then just put it on autopilot. So there are going to be times when you say, you know what, this served me before, but I'm not happy. And I think the best way to keep your finger on that is how much joy you're experiencing. And I think sometimes you feel like that's a selfish way of approaching life or an unrealistic way of approaching life. But if you just feel constantly like, you know what, I just don't ever feel like I'm really finding joy in my life anymore. I think that's a really great way to say, so we need to change some things up. And the hardest part is that we have this culture that says change is bad. We value so much the stick-to-itiveness of people, and we definitely kind of trash talk people who change. Like how he's had so many jobs over the last few years. We don't talk about how maybe even though he had 5 different jobs over the last 5 years, he always provided for himself and his family. And we don't value exploration. And so I think you're going to have to get comfortable with judgment. And as you are on your journey and searching for joy and searching for fulfillment, but I think you are going to have judgment anyways. You're going to have stress anyways. You cannot get out of life without stress and unhappiness. That's just not possible. And without hard work, it's just, do you want to choose that you're working hard and feeling stressed in pursuit of the life that would bring you joy? Or is it because you really are joyless and you're just going through the motions of a life that somebody else is telling you should live? So I think
I love that.
if you're going to choose either one, you might as well choose the one in pursuit of happiness.
You know what? I love that because it is true. There's no path free of work and free of challenge. And so you might as well just work towards what you really want. If you're going to have challenge, let it bring you a good result at the end. I love it. That's beautiful. Well, Megan, where can people go and connect with you?
We are always on YouTube. You can come and find us there, and you can watch us constantly changing and doing new things as a family over there at YouTube with Knorpp and South.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much. We appreciate your time. I know how busy you are.
Love you, Amy. Thank you so much for helping us have the courage to do that and being there all along the way.
Oh gosh, you're so welcome. I loved being a part of it. There's some businesses that you just get to put your hands on and forever, like that was fun. And yours is totally one of them. So thank you.